Okay, back up to number 5. Still working through the section of the notes talking about Jewish Oriental Jews, Jewish people in the Middle East. So we've got here. I forgot I can just throw it up here with our notes. So we've got the Ashkenazim of Central and Eastern Europe who were targeted by Hitler, dominant in the foundation of Israel. They're about 45% of the Jewish population in Israel, and their principal language is Yiddish. The Sephardim of the Iberian Peninsula expelled from Spain in 1492, a few of them to Europe, but most of the Middle East and North Africa, mostly identified with Mizrahim in Israel today, around 10% of the Jewish population in Israel, and their principal language is Ladino. And then finally, the Mizrahim, Middle East and North Africa, constituting most of Israel's poor and working class population. Again, around 45, maybe more like 50%. They're growing. They have larger families than the Ashkenazim. Around 45% of the Jewish population in Israel. Principal languages of Judeo-Arabic and Arabic, and Judeo-Persian, Judeo-Turkish, etc. After 1948, all Israelis all speak modern Hebrew, but the Sephardim and the Mizrahim speak an accented version based on Arabic that is actually closer to biblical Hebrew. When you speak Arabic, you speak it with you pronounce all of these sounds that German speakers really don't account for, like the wow, the wah, the W sound is a V in Volkswagen. You say the V's and the W's are switched, but in Arabic they don't really have a V; they just have a W, wah. So another one, a sound that a lot of Arabs have is Ain, the Ah sound, like Ali and Iraq, for Iraq, and Abdul and Abdusalam, there's all this of Abdulaziz, Aziz even has that in there. It's Ah sound in your throat that you just don't get in German, and so a lot of the Ashkenazi Hebrew speakers just leave it out. They don't even speak it. And I was in a classroom, and the student was an American Jew, but she had studied Hebrew, and she said the Ein, and I'm like, no, the Ein, it's a ah sound. She's like, yes, the Ein, we don't say it. I'm like, yes, you didn't say it again. It's the Ein. But when they say it right, because there's all these Hebrew words that have an Ein in it, and they know it because it Shema, the Shema, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. In Arabic is Sama, Isma, to hear, to listen. Sama, there's 3 sounds in there, Sa, Ma, Ah. But so anytime an Arab speaker speaks Hebrew, they speak it wrong from the perspective of the majority or the most dominant Germanic people of German-speaking origin, the Ashkenazi Jews. So their accent tends to mark them in Israel as a bit socially, quote unquote, backward, like people in the U.S. who speak with regional accents. This might be a good time to talk about no, we'll come back to it. British rule in the 1890s, Britain took over Egypt, but in all but in name. Lord Cromer, the quote-unquote governor, administered Egypt in the name of the king, known as a Khedive, because he wasn't really the king. He was Muhammad Ali had taken over, of course, from the prior rulers of Egypt, and in the name of the Ottoman Sultan. So he was just known as the Khedive. But he took his orders from London. Lord Cromer actually was ruling. The local Egyptian Jewish leaders who had donated the entire contents of the Geniza they had been maintaining for 1,000 years to Cambridge University were kind of colonial elite. So they're rich people in Egypt, in colonial Egypt, but they don't have a lot of power. The motives for their extraordinary generosity are not hard to define. Like the elites of so many other groups of the colonized world, they evidently decided to seize the main chance at a time when the balance of power The ships and the guns lay overwhelmingly with England. They were positioned as having a very closely defined and limited power, the power to curry favor with the real rulers of Egypt, that is, the British. In contrast to the English, who really valued the Geniza, the Egyptian leaders, whether they're Muslim or Christian, just considered it to be worthless. So because it comes from this post 600 AD period of Egypt, and it's really not valuable, and it's Jewish culture on top of that. So the result is that it was Masr, which had sustained the Geniza for almost a millennium, that was left with no trace of its riches. Not a single scrap or shred of paper exists today from that Geniza in Egypt. Every single Geniza manuscript is outside of the country, either in Russia at the in St. Petersburg at the Hermitage there, the museum, or it's in Israel, in museums in Israel, or most of them ended up at Cambridge. In other words, Jews were no longer, let's see, it was Masr, yeah, no single shred or scrap of paper to remind her of that aspect of her past. In other words, Jews were no longer a quote-unquote important part of Egyptian history. So Egypt in the 12th century. Now we're jumping back from where they got the manuscripts from, 1890s, Katawi family, back to the 12th century, the 1100s, and that is when he's going to write a lot of this book. So MSH.6, this means manuscript number 6 from section H. It is a convention in philology to keep track of ancient manuscripts, which are actual fragments of parchment, paper, papyrus, clay tablets, etc. So you can see these. They've been put online. The Cambridge, let me expand this out a little bit so you can see it better. Cambridge University, oh goodness. Cambridge University has put these online. It's really wonderful. Okay, fine. The Cairo Geniza, Taylor Shecht collection, Mosseri collection, you can see it all here. We will scooch this over somewhat so you can see some of these. Letter from a Jewish notable who had previously been Minister of Finance in Egypt, seeking assistance from the Jewish community. Let's see what this looks like. Jewish community in Constantinople. And so we will see what it looks like. Look at that. Is not that a beautiful hand? So you can see here, I mean, if I could read it, if I could read the Hebrew script, I could probably understand this because it is in Arabic. So this is Judeo-Arabic written in Hebrew script. This is astounding that we can find this stuff. It just doesn't exist anymore. Even in the Arabic script, it doesn't exist because nobody would ever write down colloquial Arabic in Arabic script. Why would you do it? Why would anybody write colloquial Arabic? The whole point of writing is to write literate stuff, right? It'd be like turning in a text as your paper. It doesn't look good. So Arabs usually don't write down colloquial Arabic. Now might be a good time to pause. Let's pause because it's 9 minutes in, and we'll come back and we'll talk about colloquial Arabic and different kinds of Arabic. Okay, thank you.